The hall shimmered beneath chandeliers that glowed like frozen stars, casting strands of light across the marble floors of the Hale mansion. Guests in crisp suits and glittering gowns filled the enormous dining room, their conversations weaving together like threads of polite admiration. At the head of the long polished table sat Victor Hale, proud owner of the house, the family name, and, in his mind, the world. His smile was sharp, the kind used to cut rather than comfort. At the far end of the table sat Alina Carter, a calm figure in a soft teal dress. Her posture was straight, her expression peaceful, but the contrast between her quiet presence and the loud, glittering crowd was unmistakable. Her dark complexion and gentle aura stood out in this sea of pale faces, not because she wanted attention, but because she could never truly blend in. Victor's voice boomed across the hall as he raised his glass. To legacy, power, and family. The guests echoed him with practiced smiles. Alina lifted her glass quietly. Victor's eyes narrowed. "Alina," he said loudly, his voice slicing through the moment. "Nothing to add? As usual?" Chairs shifted. Guests pretended to adjust their plates. A few exchanged awkward glances. Alina lowered her glass gently. "Your words cover everything, Victor," she replied softly. But Victor wasn't looking for peace, only dominance. He leaned back with a mocking laugh. "Always silent, always invisible. Tell me, Alina, why are you even here?" The room sank into a suffocating hush. Before Alina could speak, Eleanor Hale, Victor's mother, chimed in, adjusting her black silk shawl with theatrical disdain. "She is here because you married her, Victor. Though I still cannot understand what possessed you. She came from nothing, that tiny neighborhood, that ordinary family. We warned you she would never match the Hale standards." Alina kept her expression still. She was used to Eleanor's words. They were thorns she had learned to handle without flinching. Victor smirked, encouraged.
"Exactly.
Look at her, quiet, dull, no charm. What do you even bring to this family, Alina? What value do you add?" A few guests stared at their plates. Alina met his eyes. "I bring loyalty and respect." Victor scoffed. "Loyalty? Respect? No one respects you here." The cruelty hung in the air. Suddenly, Victor leaned forward and spat. The spit hit the edge of Alina's plate, droplets splashing her dress. The room froze. Gasps rippled down the table. Forks clattered. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Alina's hands trembled once, then steadied. She did not cry. She did not shout. She simply inhaled, letting the humiliation settle like a stain on her chest. Victor laughed, cruel and triumphant. "That's more like it. You look exactly how you should, pathetic." No one defended her, except one. Mia Lawson, seated beside Alina, slid her a napkin under the table and whispered, "Don't let him break you." But Mia's eyes, when they flicked toward Victor, held something Alina did not see, a dangerous spark of admiration. The dinner continued in suffocating silence. But inside Alina, something shifted. Not defeat, something far more powerful. They thought she was weak. They thought she would stay silent. But Alina Carter was preparing for a reckoning the Hale family would never see coming. This is a story woven with betrayal, buried strength, and the quiet rise of someone the world chose to overlook. And today, I'm honored to share it with you. Hello, beautiful family. Welcome back to Black Family Stories. Before we dive in, I have a small request from the heart. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe. Your support isn't just a number, it's the force that keeps these powerful stories alive. Every tap on that button helps us bring forward voices that are too often ignored and experiences that deserve to be seen, heard, and remembered. And in the comments, Let us know where you're watching from. Because here, we are more than a community. We are a family preserving strength, truth, and hope, one story at a time. When the last echo of forced laughter faded, the dinner dragged on under a heavy cloud of tension. Servants moved like shadows, careful not to draw Victor's attention. Every clink of cutlery felt too loud in the painful silence he had created. At the table, Alina continued blotting her stained dress with the napkin Mia had given her, her face calm but unreadable, like a mask carved from quiet resilience. Victor leaned back in his chair, stretching as if he had accomplished something grand. To him, breaking someone was entertainment. There, he said loudly, lifting his glass. Now she actually looks the way she feels. A few guests attempted nervous chuckles. Most lowered their gaze, too afraid to confront him.
Eleanor Hale sighet dramatical.
Honestly, Alina, perhaps you should excuse yourself. You're clearly not suited for company tonight. Her tone was soft, but the venom beneath it was unmistakable. Alina lifted her gaze slowly. Thank you for the concern, she said gently, but I am perfectly fine. For a brief moment, Eleanor's fake kindness cracked. Victor's younger brother, Adrian Hale, chuckled under his breath. Let her stay, he said with a smirk. It's not often we get such a performance. Victor slammed his palm on the table, laughing. Exactly. Let everyone see what a failure of a wife looks like. Alina's grip tightened around the napkin, but she never raised her voice. Her silence, mistaken for weakness, irritated Victor more than anger ever would. Mia leaned in again, whispering urgently, Alina, you can walk out. You don't have to take this. We'll leave together. Alina shook her head slowly. If I leave, Mia, they win. I won't give them that satisfaction. Mia swallowed hard, admiring her strength, and yet, when her eyes drifted back to Victor, something dark flickered inside her. His arrogance, his confidence, his power, she felt a pull she couldn't deny, no matter how wrong it was. Victor raised his glass again, mocking. To my dear silent wife, may she never speak and never matter. Finally, the dinner ended. Guests practically fled the room, whispering among themselves. Eleanor marched out proudly. Adrian lingered, studying Alina, with calculating eyes. Victor swaggered away with a group of friends, laughing as if he hadn't just humiliated his wife in front of the world. Alina remained seated until everyone was gone. Mia stayed beside her. I'm so sorry, Mia said softly. No one deserves that. Alina folded the napkin neatly and placed it on the table. Don't be sorry for me, she said quietly. Save your pity for them.
Mia blinked.
What do you mean? One day, Alina whispered, her voice steady, the same people laughing tonight will choke on it. A shiver ran through Mia's chest. She didn't understand the meaning behind those calm words, but they carried a weight that felt like a warning. Alina stood and walked out with dignity. Her dress was stained, but her spirit remained untouched. The Hales thought they had broken her, but Alina was hiding a truth powerful enough to shatter everything they believed they controlled. The mansion fell into silence after the guests disappeared into the night. But Victor's mocking laugh still echoed in Alina's mind like a wound that refused to close. She walked quietly through the long, dim corridors until she reached the one room in the entire estate that felt truly hers, a small private study tucked away at the far end of the West Wing. Unlike the extravagant, cold luxury of the Hale mansion, this room was simple,
Warm.
human. Bookshelves filled with worn novels lined the walls, a wooden desk sat by the window, and a soft lamp glowed in the corner, like a flicker of comfort in a house built of cruelty. Alina sat at the desk, placing her trembling hands on the polished surface. She exhaled slowly, steadying herself. No tears came, not because she didn't feel pain, but because she refused to let Victor's cruelty break her even in private. Yet memories surged against her will. 2 years earlier, she had stood outside Victor's office, frozen. The door was slightly open. She heard soft laughter, a woman's laugh. Young, playful. She nudged the door open just enough to see. Victor stood with Lila Brooks, his blonde secretary, his hands on her waist. Their lips met in a kiss that stabbed through Alina's chest like a blade.
She didn't confront them then.
She quietly closed the door, pressing a trembling hand to her own mouth to keep her shattered breath from escaping. But that night, in their bedroom, she finally asked, "Victor, who is she?" Victor didn't even pause as he unbuttoned his shirt. "Don't start, Alina. You're boring. She's exciting. That's all." Her voice cracked. "You're my husband. And you," Victor snapped, "are dead weight. Be grateful I keep you here at all." The memory burned. Another memory followed, sharper, crueler. A year later, she'd approached Eleanor Hale privately. "Mrs. Hale, Victor is being unfaithful. I can't keep pretending." Eleanor lifted her chin. "Lila is better for him. She has charm and ambition, qualities you lack." Shock had robbed Alina of breath. "You approve of it," she whispered. Eleanor set down her teacup with a cold smile. "You were never right for this family. If Victor finds joy elsewhere, why should I stop him?" Those words had carved themselves permanently into Alina's heart. A soft knock pulled Alina back to the present. "Come in," she whispered. The door opened. Mia stepped inside, holding 2 mugs of tea. She placed one gently before Alina, then sat beside her. "How are you holding up?" Mia asked softly. "It hurt," Alina admitted. "Being mocked like that, it hurts." Mia wrapped her arms around her, offering comfort. "You don't deserve him, Alina. You deserve better. So much better." Alina leaned into the hug for just a moment. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're the only one who stands beside me." Mia smiled, but the warmth in her eyes flickered. Behind it, something calculating stirred. Something she didn't want to acknowledge. Later, when Alina left the study, Mia lingered behind thinking about Victor. His confidence, his dominance, his power, and how being near him made her feel something she wished she didn't. Outside, the mansion slept, but inside, cracks in loyalty were beginning to spread. Mia whispered support to Alina, but in the shadows, she was already drifting toward the very man destroying her friend's life, and soon, one dangerous choice would change everything. The mansion's halls were quiet, darkened by the late hour. Alina had already gone upstairs to rest, unaware that Mia remained alone in the study, her hands curled around the half-empty mug of tea. She sat in silence, staring into the steam as her thoughts spiraled. She could still see Victor at the dinner table, powerful, commanding, utterly unashamed of his cruelty. Even his arrogance carried a strange magnetism. It tugged at the weakest corners of Mia's heart, awakening something she had been trying desperately to bury. And though she hated herself for it, the pull only grew stronger. After several long seconds, Mia stood and slipped into the hallway. But instead of heading to her guest room, her steps drifted toward the side door that led out to the garden. The night air greeted her coolly. Moonlight reflected off the marble fountain, and a faint smell of cigar smoke drifted through the courtyard. Victor was there, leaning against the stone wall, sleeves rolled up, his silhouette sharp under the moon. He glanced at her with a slow, amused grin. "You came," he murmured.
Mia esse bretit.
"You asked me to." Victor stepped closer, flicking ash from his cigar. "Alina doesn't get me. She never did. Always so quiet, so dull." Mia swallowed hard. "She loves you." Victor chuckled. "Love? That's not enough. I need someone who understands ambition. Someone who matches my energy." His eyes swept over her deliberately. Someone like you. Mia knew she should step back. She knew this was wrong, but she didn't move. His voice dropped. You deserve more than standing in Alina's shadow. A small tremble ran through her. She's my friend, Mia whispered, though her voice lacked conviction. And yet she holds you down, Victor said smoothly. You're wasting your potential taking care of her. Think bigger, Mia. He flicked the cigar into the fountain, then leaned in, his breath warm against her ear. Remember what I said. Mia's heartbeat thudded painfully as she slipped back inside, her mind tangled with guilt and desire. Meanwhile, Alina returned to the study. Mia quickly made an excuse about being tired and fled upstairs. But the damage inside her chest was already done. A dangerous seed had taken root. But while Mia wrestled with temptation, Alina had her own secrets. Later that night, when she was finally alone, Alina opened her desk drawer and took out a small silver key. She unlocked the bottom compartment and revealed a stack of documents carefully protected in leather folders. Share certificates, contracts, agreements, proof of a truth that no one in the Hale family suspected. Alina Carter quietly owned 90% of Hale Dynamics. Years ago, when Victor's business had crumbled, it was Alina's hidden inheritance that saved everything. She had invested under a different name, securing ownership while allowing Victor to believe his genius had rescued the company. They praised him. They bowed to him. They mocked her. But they stood on ground she had built. Alina traced her fingers over the papers, her expression calm but eyes blazing with quiet fire. Not yet, she told herself. But soon. The Hales believed Alina was powerless, but she held the company in her hands, and her patience was ending. And when the truth finally came out, the empire they worshipped would crumble at her feet. The city glowed like scattered jewels beneath the night sky as the grand corporate gala for Hale Dynamics came alive inside the Carlton Hotel ballroom. Guests in shimmering dresses and tailored tuxedos drifted through the room, their voices blending with soft music and clinking glasses. It was an event designed for celebration, a display of wealth, influence, and the Hale family name. Alina Carter arrived quietly, dressed in a deep green gown that flowed elegantly, but did not scream for attention. She stayed near the edge of the room, offering polite smiles but choosing silence over small talk. She had never cared for crowds like this, especially when she knew how most attendees viewed her, a silent ornament attached to Victor, the powerful Hale patriarch. But Victor was not attached to her tonight. He entered the ballroom moments later, laughter echoing, with Lila Brooks on his arm. Lila's blonde curls shimmered under the chandeliers, her red dress bold and unapologetically revealing. She clung to Victor proudly, as if she were stepping into a place she believed she deserved. Heads turned, cameras flashed, and Victor basked in it. He didn't glance at Alina once, but she watched him from the quiet shadows, a steady ache burning inside her chest. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a public declaration that she didn't matter. He wanted the world to know it. Hours later, the celebration shifted to a formal board meeting held in a private room upstairs. The atmosphere changed immediately, from glittering spectacle to sharp-eyed business scrutiny. Victor stood at the head of the long glass table, confidence radiating off him like heat. At his side sat Adrian, arms crossed smugly, and Eleanor, chin lifted with pride. Lila took a seat near them as if she belonged, while Mia slipped quietly into a chair behind Eleanor. "We're expanding," Victor announced, pacing with theatrical energy. "Europe, Asia, global dominance. It's time to show the world what Hale Dynamics truly is." One of the directors frowned. "Victor, the financial risks." Victor cut him off sharply. "Risk is for men who dream small. I dream big." Adrian leaned in. The cautious, Ones never change the world. Ignore them, Victor. Alina sat silently at the far end of the table, hands folded, listening. Victor barely looked her direction. To him, she was an audience, not a participant. When the meeting ended, he brushed past her without a word, Lila clinging to his arm. Eleanor followed, praising him as if he were a king. Adrian smirked cruelly as he passed Alina, enjoying the humiliation on her behalf. Alina remained seated long after the room emptied. Her expression remained calm, but inside, the storm was gathering. Quiet did not mean weak. Silence did not mean surrender. Later, back at the mansion, Mia came to her room. "You shouldn't have to endure this," Mia whispered. "He humiliates you every chance he gets." Alina looked down at her hands. "Leaving would mean they win, and I won't let them." Mia hugged her gently, but when she left the room, she walked straight to where Victor was drinking whiskey alone in the guest lounge. "He shouldn't treat you like this," she whispered. Victor's smirk returned. "I'm filing for divorce soon."
Mia froze.
"Alina will get scraps," Victor continued. "Then Lila will take her rightful place at my side." His fingertips brushed her chin. "And who knows, Mia? There might be a place for you too." Mia's breath trembled, and the line between loyalty and betrayal crumbled. Mia thought she was stepping into Victor's world, but she had no idea the truth Alina was hiding, a truth powerful enough to destroy the entire Hale family once revealed. The next afternoon unfolded with a deceptive calmness inside the Hale mansion. Sunlight filtered through tall windows, casting soft patterns across the marble floors. But beneath the quiet surface, tension crawled through every hallway like an unseen storm. Alina sat in her study, sorting through documents. She was focused, composed, unaware that fate and betrayal were about to brush dangerously close. Her phone rang in the hallway, and she stepped out to answer it, leaving the study door slightly ajar. Moments later, Mia walked by. She hesitated. Her eyes drifted to the open door and to the edge of Alina's desk, where a drawer hadn't been fully closed. Curiosity tugged at her, sharper now after Victor's whispered promises, sharper still after the spark he ignited in the garden. Slowly, she stepped inside the study. The room was warm, gentle, and so unlike the rest of the mansion. It smelled faintly of lavender and old books, Alina's sanctuary. A pang of guilt prickled through Mia, but she pushed it away. Her gaze landed on the drawer. She reached down, opened it just enough, and froze. Inside were neatly arranged folders, bound in leather. The top one was labeled simply,
Shareholders, Hale Dynamics.
Her pulse quickened. She opened the folder, eyes skimming across lines of text she barely understood, contracts, financial statements, signatures, official seals. Her brows furrowed. It showed that the majority ownership belonged to someone with a name she recognized from Alina's past. A name tied to Alina's inheritance. 90%. Her breath caught. But instead of understanding the truth, Mia shook her head. No, this can't be real," she whispered to herself. To her, it looked like a fantasy. A desperate attempt by Alina to feel important in a world where Victor treated her like she was invisible. Mia convinced herself these were meaningless papers, a delusion, not power. She snapped the folder shut and slid everything back into place quickly, her heart still pounding. Just as she stepped away, she heard footsteps approaching, Alina returning. Panicking, Mia slipped out of the room and down the hallway, convincing herself the documents meant nothing, never realizing she had held Alina's greatest weapon in her hands. Later that evening, Victor hosted a smaller business dinner at the mansion. The atmosphere was tight, exclusive, full of sharp whispers and strategic smiles. Victor sat proudly with Lila at his side, Eleanor showering them with praise. Adrian leaned close, whispering plans for bolder, riskier expansions. And Alina? She sat quietly again, invisible to them all. Mia hovered nearby, feeding Victor little updates, twisting small details of Alina's silence to make her seem fragile, broken, irrelevant. She didn't fully understand why she was doing it. Maybe for Victor's approval, maybe for power, or maybe because desire twisted loyalty into something unrecognizable. Each laugh, each whispered insult, each betrayal was another stone meant to bury Alina. But Alina didn't bend. They saw silence. But silence was just the sheath that hid a blade. They believed Alina was powerless, but the boardroom was about to witness a truth powerful enough to destroy every lie the Hales had built, and nothing would ever be the same again. The boardroom of Hale Dynamics gleamed like a temple built for power. Sunlight spilled through floor-to-ceiling windows, slicing across the polished steel table and illuminating the room with sharp clarity. Executives, shareholders, and senior advisors filled every seat, their quiet murmurs blending into a low hum of anticipation. At the head of the table stood Victor Hale, confident, charismatic, and dangerously full of himself. He smoothed his suit jacket, adjusted his cufflinks, and flashed a grin that stretched like a man convinced the world bowed beneath his feet. Lila Brooks sat close beside him, dressed in crimson again, reveling in attention. Eleanor sat on his other side, pride swelling in every wordless glance she gave her son. Adrian lounged carelessly in his chair, smirking at the room as if he owned it. And then, at the far end, quiet, poised, almost invisible, sat Alina Carter. No one greeted her. No one acknowledged her. No one imagined she mattered. Mia Lawson sat near Eleanor, leaning forward eagerly, hoping Victor would look her way. He didn't. Victor raised his hand for silence, and the room obeyed. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice booming with practiced authority. "Today marks the beginning of a new era for Hale Dynamics. We are expanding aggressively. Europe,
Asia,
global dominance. The Hale name will echo across continents." Applause rose, led by Eleanor and Adrian. Lila beamed. Victor paced dramatically. "Yes, it's bold. Yes, it's risky. But risk is what makes legends." A few directors exchanged uneasy looks. One of them cleared his throat. "Victor, the company isn't financially stable enough for such a move. If this fails..." Victor cut him off sharply. "Failure doesn't exist under my leadership." Adrian leaned forward, voice dripping with arrogance. "The cautious ones will fall behind. The world belongs to those willing to gamble big." Applause followed, uneasy, hesitant. Victor's eyes swept the room, then landed on Alina like a predator spotting prey. "And what about you, Alina?" he said loudly. "Do you approve? Or will you stay silent, pretending you matter?" A ripple of laughter spread across the table. Eleanor shook her head with mock pity. Lila smirked. Mia watched, waiting for the moment Victor glanced her way. Alina rose slowly. Every movement was deliberate, controlled. Still, the room quieted. She placed a folder on the center of the table and opened it calmly, spreading documents across the polished surface. Her voice was steady, soft, but carried an unsettling strength. "Victor," she said, "you speak of global dominance, but you are forgetting the most important truth." Victor rolled his eyes. "Oh, please." Alina continued without flinching. "I own Hale Dynamics." The room froze. "I own 90% of it." Gasps erupted like a burst of thunder. Chairs shifted. Hands flew to mouths. Voices rose in disbelief. Victor laughed loud, forced. "This is absurd. Sit down, Alina, before you embarrass yourself even more." Mia laughed too, waving her hand dismissively.
She's desperate.
She probably forged something. But Alina slid the documents toward the nearest board member. Verify them. And one by one, the executives examined them. Signatures, seals, legal contracts, everything valid and irrefutable. Their eyes widened. One director spoke in a trembling voice. It's real. These are legitimate. Alina Carter is the majority shareholder. The room exploded. Victor's face drained of color. Eleanor stiffened. Adrian sat upright for the first time, calculation flashing in his eyes. Lila went pale. Mia stared, stunned, realizing she had betrayed the wrong person. And Alina stood tall, calm, unshaken. For years, they mocked her. Now they would face the woman who secretly owned everything. But Alina wasn't done yet, and the next words she spoke would destroy Victor's entire empire. Chaos surged through the boardroom like a sudden storm. Executives murmured frantically, flipping through the documents again just to confirm the unthinkable. Hands trembled. Eyes widened. Every page screamed the same truth. Alina Carter owned Hale Dynamics. Not Victor. Not the Hale family. Her. Victor stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the table. No, this is a trick. Alina, stop this. His voice cracked, for the first time in years. Alina remained perfectly still. Her calmness unnerved the entire room. You forgot one thing, Victor, she said softly. Truth doesn't bend for your pride. Eleanor slammed her hand on the table. This is impossible. My son built this company. Alina turned her gaze toward her. Your son built nothing. When Hale Dynamics collapsed years ago, investors fled. Banks refused to offer loans. Victor was a signature away from bankruptcy. The executives stared at Victor in shock. Then Alina continued, her tone smooth and unshakable. I used my inheritance to save the company quietly. I invested through a different identity to protect myself. And in return, I acquired 90% ownership, fair and legal. The directors exchanged stunned glances. Adrian's smug expression shattered. Lila paled as though she'd seen a ghost. Victor's lips trembled. Alina, please. If I had known. Alina cut him off gently, almost coldly. If you had known, Victor, you still would have spat on me. Silence sliced through the room. Victor's jaw tightened. Tears swelled, not from remorse, but fear. Alina glanced at the directors. Effective immediately, Victor Hale is removed as CEO. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, disbelief. Victor lunged forward. You can't take my company. I'm not taking anything, Alina replied. I already own it. He grabbed her wrist, desperation dripping from his voice. Alina, please. I can change. Just don't do this. She stepped back, looking at him with a heartbreaking gentleness. You had years to change. I waited. I forgave. I endured humiliation, and still you broke every promise. Her voice lowered, firm and final. You are done, Victor. The security team, summoned quietly by the board, moved to the door. Victor's eyes darted around as panic swallowed him. Adrian tried to speak. Alina, think rationally. She turned to him. Your reckless schemes end here, Adrian. You manipulated the board, fueled risky expansions, and pushed Victor into ruinous decisions. I won't allow it anymore. Eleanor sputtered in disbelief. You ungrateful. Alina met her gaze calmly. Years of insults, belittlement, and cruelty, yet I kept this family afloat. Your voice holds no weight here anymore. Then her eyes landed on Mia.
Mia's lips trembled.
Alina, please. I never meant. You betrayed me in silence, Alina said softly. Silent betrayal cuts deeper than open hatred. Mia broke down, guilt devouring her. The room was still. Alina gathered her documents, placing them neatly back in her folder, every movement poised and powerful. "The meeting is over," she declared. "Hale Dynamics will be rebuilt, with integrity instead of ego, with vision instead of arrogance." She walked toward the door, heels clicking against the polished floor. Behind her, Victor collapsed in his chair, defeated. Lila quietly slipped away, unwilling to sync with him. Eleanor stared blankly, stripped of the power she clung to. Adrian sat frozen, plans shattered. Mia sobbed silently, realizing she had lost the only true friend she ever had. Alina stepped out of the boardroom and into the hallway filled with morning light. She wasn't just avenged. She was reborn. They tried to bury her, but they didn't know she was a seed. And now, Alina Carter was ready to rebuild an empire on her own terms, and the world would soon learn her name.